Faculty, it is August, which means there are AI updates we need to update you on. We've spent all summer poring over large language models and other tools built into Brightspace we want to talk about. We also are talking about tools that students will have access to this fall for the first time. So the first tool we want to talk about is Google Gemini, which is coming to our students this fall. And Travis is going to start us off with Gemini.
Sounds good. And Gemini is definitely one of those products or services that just continually gets new updates all the time. So if you want to stay on top of that, good luck. It is hard, but Google does have a nice blog that kind of gives updates each time they make a change or an addition to Gemini, or they introduce a new model. So you can check that out. Or I do encourage you to visit the My Campus page, or the My Campus group rather, for the AI Alliance. You can just search for it up in the top bar and join the group, join the conversation. There's about 35 of us now currently. We are constantly sharing updates of Gemini and the other tools you have access to at the college, and different fun use cases as well. So definitely check out that resource. We'd love to have you there and continue the conversation. Let's jump into Gemini. A lot has happened here. If you haven't been in Gemini in a while, there's a lot going on. So let's just cover a couple of tidbits. Some stuff may be a little bit old, but some stuff very new. Definitely want to point your eyes to the plus button when you're out at gemini.google.com. Here you can add files from your Google Drive or just locally from your computer. This can make a huge difference if you want to quickly summarize a large PDF that somebody gave you, or even chapters of your textbook, things like that. You can also bring in different data sheets. So if you have a large amount of data that's in Excel or a Google Sheet, you can drop that in here, and Gemini does a great job of helping you analyze that data and maybe get some unique perspective that you didn't think of. Elsewhere in Gemini, you'll notice a few extra buttons down here that maybe you haven't seen before. I believe image is probably the one that's been down here the longest, but let's cover the other ones. Let's start with Canvas. We've got some videos out there about this specifically in the AI Alliance group, so join us there. But Canvas basically is a really neat way to kind of bring Gemini into almost like a Google Docs experience, where you have this editable area that's on the right side and you can chat on the left side. So I'll have the rest of the group kind of chime in on their use cases for this as well. But one that I did recently, and one that's on the screen here, is I needed some HTML code to actually build a page in My Campus. And while I kind of know my way around that, I knew it would take me a very long time. So I clicked on the Canvas feature. I told Gemini what I needed. I provided some of the details in the videos that I wanted it to put on the page. And it created this really nice looking HTML page where I could copy and paste the code, which you can toggle over to anytime. You can just copy and paste this code into any editor, and it made some really nice content for me, saved me a lot of time. How about the rest of you? Have you used Canvas at all?
I've been using it to build Brightspace HTML pages really quickly. So I'll feed it some content, and then I will even go into the HTML page. I'll create a new file in Brightspace, go into the code and grab the style sheet information, and I'll give that to Gemini and ask it to use the same thing so that I get all the colors or NICC colors and everything looks the same as our default templates in Brightspace. So it's a really, really fast way to build some quick lecture notes or study guide information, module introduction, whatever kinds of content you might want to put in the course. You can simply give it some slides or your lecture notes or even a lecture video and have it base it on that content.
There's other ways to sort of design little activities you could put into the HTML content too, like the Brightspace Creator Plus style activities, but you could develop your own kind of custom game or flashcard kind of activity customized for using your materials right in your course.
Absolutely. And also always remember this area over here, this is not a static thing. You can edit this on the fly. You can have the verbiage changed, just not a problem. It's basically like a live Google Doc. And you don't have to do this necessarily with HTML content or interactive content as well. You can just do it with, if you're writing a paper, for example, it can just put the text over on the right side and you can go through it that way as well. So a lot of nice things there. Saves a lot of copying and pasting and trying to revise what you're going for with your prompts. So definitely experiment with Canvas. Love that. Let's check into another example, and that is deep research. Deep research is another great addition to Gemini to save you a lot of time, obviously, researching. Basically, when you click on the deep research button, you can ask it just about anything. And what Gemini will do is it'll go through a deep dive of finding sources and materials related to your inquiry. So it really is kind of like an automated Google search or an automated search that you would do in like a library database. It's kind of the same type of deal. It's looking through all these different sources and giving you some output along with citing those sources. So if you have a really complex task that you're trying to kind of get to the bottom of, this is a great way to go about it. And to be honest with you, a lot of times when I'm researching like buying something new at home or something like that, I kind of skip Googling now, and instead I use the deep research because it looks through the sources that I know and trust. You do have flexibility over the sources it uses, by the way, and it gives a really nice kind of overview of what you're looking for. So here's just kind of a rough example of that based on a product that I was asked to investigate, and I wanted input not only from the vendor, but also from people that have actually bought this product. So pretty nice there.
And real quick, Travis, sometimes hundreds of sources it'll dig up. And one thing that is really nice about the deep research functionality is it'll sort of make a research plan and ask you for permission before proceeding. So you have an opportunity each time before you begin a deep research request to sort of clarify those instructions. So you have a better chance of landing where you think you're going to land with your report.
Thanks so much, Jordan.
Sure.
And the last new button actually showed up just this week, and that is the guided learning button. This may be something interesting that you'd want to show your students. It is basically a way to help your students kind of dissect content, go through practice questions, create flashcards, things like that. So here's just a very rough example of I took a transcript of a lecture about underwater basket weaving, and I dropped it in here. I hit the guided learning button, and I asked for it to create a study guide for me. Kind of did that a little bit rough here. I did a poor job of having underwater basket weaving be the example, but it was fun. But as you can see, what it does is it can help the student just kind of look at each aspect of underwater basket weaving in this instance, and it does a little bit more of like a conversation to ignite kind of a learning process rather than just dumping a ton of information on you. So I don't know if anyone else on the call has clicked this button yet because it literally is brand new, but the concept here is kind of interesting, and I anticipate we'll have more follow-ups on this in the near future.
I've not tried it yet, but I think early instances of ChatGPT was sort of similar, where it tried to make an effort to tease out, were you trying to sort of cheat on something or not? And I think this will probably be a representation of that kind of, I'm not going to give you the answer no matter how hard you try, which would be nice in some classroom settings.
Sure.
And just one quick thing, I imagine some instructors might be nervous that students could go use that deep research tool rather than going out and researching a subject themselves. So one thing you could do is have your students screen record, and so you see their session, and so you have them go directly to guided learning, or you have them find information and put it into, let's say, the Canvas tool and have it build an infographic or something like that. But you can kind of watch their process if you have them record their screens.
And just the validity of sources that deep research finds or doesn't find will be, students can be held responsible for the quality of the research. So it might turn them on to good sources, but it might also dredge up poor internet sources, just like any other Google search. So.
Yeah, and we'll dive into more of this later as well, but students do have access to Gemini through their NICC accounts. This is a great way for students to actually use Gemini or a chat model, because much like your accounts, just like it says at the bottom of the screen there, your chats in Gemini are not used to improve models, and they're not reviewed by humans. So it's just a great kind of safe way that students can leverage an AI tool using their NICC account rather than their data going off into the abyss. So any final thoughts related to Gemini?
No, it's a good model. It's grown on me over the last year.
Oh, how about the free student accounts for Pro?
Sure. Let me, I'll find that resource. But Google just announced recently that students are able to obtain a Pro license for Gemini for free.
I think it's the $20 a month one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and they did the same thing like 6 months ago or something like that. So this might be sort of just a rolling thing they do for students, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, information about that is out on the Google blog as well that I mentioned earlier.
Next, we're going to talk about NotebookLM, which is also a Google tool. So we'll jump right into that one. So we do have a video out on like an overview video of NotebookLM. So I won't go into all of the details. You can watch that one if you're new to it. But essentially, it is another Google AI tool that only runs on the sources that you provide. And so it's a great resource both for instructors and for students to use to organize content and notes and then build things from it. So you can see on the left side is a list of sources. This is my notebook for my college experience course. And you can use this chat here to ask questions, to find information from your sources, or develop quiz questions, whatever kind of content you need. But there are some things over on the right side that are built into the tool that are pretty neat and I think pretty unique to this particular tool. One of them is the audio overview, and this isn't exactly new. You probably noticed our newsletter contains a podcast version now and has for a few months. That is how we generate it. But there are some new features with this. One of them is that you can customize the way the AI works. So the first thing you want to do is choose the sources you want to use for the podcast. And if you choose all of your sources, it's obviously going to be longer and take a while to run. So you'll choose what you want to use, and then you can customize it. You can put specific learning objectives in here if you want it to focus on those. You could tell it you want it to focus on a specific topic. You can ask for a certain tone, or you might tell it that you want to mention, a welcome back message or something like that. Whatever you think you want to do here. And then you'll generate it. It takes probably 5 to 10 minutes to generate, depending on length. And then you'll see it show up right here. I'll just play a couple seconds of it, and then I want to note this interactive mode.
Massive one, and they just bounce back.
Exactly. Stronger, more creative, and you're left thinking, how on earth did they manage that?
Well, today we're really getting into something.
Have you ever hit that point, that challenge where you just think, okay, that's it for me. That's my limit.
Oh, our listeners got something to share. Let's hear it.
Can you tell me more about growth mindset?
Oh, absolutely. We were just about to dive deep into that. So great question.
Yeah, it's actually one of the core ideas we want to unpack today. It's fascinating.
Researcher Carol Dweck really introduced this concept.
Okay, so you can see there that you can interrupt this podcast and ask it questions. And it takes a little bit of processing, but it will respond. You can have a three-way conversation with the podcast hosts, which is pretty cool.
Jenna, I've not seen the video overviews. Want to show that too?
Yep, that's the next thing I'm going to show. The video overview is brand new. I think that just rolled out this week. And it is the same concept. You're going to get an AI host, only I think it's one voice instead of two. And it will provide a video overview. So instead of having to generate slides or try to create some kind of visual, NotebookLM will do it for you. So you're going to have the same sort of setup where you choose the source you want to use or sources that you'd like to use. And then you'll customize the same way. So you can put whatever you want in there. And then these take a little longer to generate, but once you do, you'll see it's right here. And I'll just play a couple seconds of this.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a skill that's at the very core of how we connect with each other. It's something we think we do all the time, but if we're being honest, it's something we can all get a whole lot better at. Active listening. Let's get into it. So, let me ask you a question.
So you can see there, you've got slides. It's all narrated. It's not perfect. There are some times when it switches between slides and the voice. There's maybe not enough of a pause in between the voice changing, but overall, it does a really nice job of building that visual and narrating it. You can do a couple of things with that. You can play it as is and share it, or you could turn the audio down and narrate your own lecture video and just use that as your visual. Or you could upload it as a source to your notebook and then turn it into a study guide or whatever other content you want to go with it.
Is it like an MP4 file? What is it, Shannon? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe it is an MP4 file.
Okay.
The other things I wanted to mention, and these I think were here, some of these were here before, but some are new and improved. There's a mind map feature. So if you create that based on whatever sources you want, you'll get this interactive mind map, which is pretty neat. At this point, I'm not sure that you can share the interactive map. You can download it, but it downloads as an image, so then it's not interactive. And then go ahead.
The audio overviews being having the ability to either download those or stream those is really, really helpful for our new athletic programs. So as they're on the road, traveling around to different matches and events, they can, put a lot of content into a notebook and be able to get key elements from it through the audio overview. So definitely a nice thing for them.
Yeah, and the podcast it's interesting to listen to. I think it's engaging. If you have content that's sort of dry, I feel like turning it into an audio overview or a video overview might be a great way to go. And then so under reports, we've got a briefing doc, study guide, FAQ, and timeline. I just did a quick study guide to share. But you can use the chatbot to also return whatever other types of content you want. Anybody have any examples that you've been using LM for lately?
I used it with my summer class. I decided to do one notebook per unit of the course and made it available to learners. And Google Notebook was sort of changing its share settings, so I shared it with learners a couple of different ways, and kind of you can see some of the analytics of folks using it. So I really like it because it's my notes or my lecture notes, my lecture YouTube videos I got to put in there, list of key terms, just stuff I wanted them to access. And so when they ask a question of the tool, it provides a footnote citation and reference to the place in my notes, right, where they can actually give it context. And so really useful in that it's a contained atmosphere in an instructional setting.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with student use. You can share these notebooks, but students have access to LM beginning this fall. And so you could have your students build their own notebook for your class. And that's something I plan to do with my composition students, is have them organize their research in a notebook. And then we'll put some citation information in it, notes they take on structure and formatting and things like that. And then it can help them build annotated bibliographies or outlines for a research paper or whatever else we want to work with. So I'm pretty excited to have students use it. I think it's going to be a really good tool for them.
Cool. So that was NotebookLM. I think we're on to Brightspace's new acquisition, H5P.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and dive in. We'll dive into H5P and Lumi here. So as you may know, there is the piece of Lumi that we've had access to where you can generate quiz questions, and I believe we also put out a video on generating summaries. And just to kind of refresh on that, in classic content and in the new content experience, you're going to have pretty similar experiences with Lumi. However, there's going to be one piece that's only in the new content. So just to show off, the first thing I want to show is this, adding the generative summary to any module that you have. And that can also be done within an assignment and within certain other description fields. So basically what you would do is you would open up your description, click the generate summary, and then you can include any activities that are within that current module, or you can select specific activities. So if you choose, you can just say include all and then generate. And then it'll take a little bit. It'll work through every single item that you've selected or all items, and it will generate an overview of just kind of what everything's talking about in that module. So you can also do this within the new content experience by going directly into an activity or a module. And then after you edit it, you'll get this option to generate the summary and the description. And it'll still be the exact same situation. You can select the entire module, or you can select individual components that you want to put in there. The next piece is going to be generating an actual content item. So this is something that's newer and is only available in the new content experience. So if you'd like the new content experience, please reach out to us and we can enable it in your course. And what this will allow you to do is you can actually create a whole new HTML page or activity based on an uploaded file. So to do this, you'll just go up to Create New and then Generate Unit from File. And then right now, you can use it to import pre-written, or you can generate from a presentation or a lecture, or you could choose a file. And so I'm actually just going to go ahead and upload a file. And right now it just supports Word doc. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that in there. And then now that it's finished, I'll go ahead and say Review Unit Structure. And then it'll go through and it should generate a whole new file within my module based on the information from this Word doc. So I like what I see here. So I'm going to select all the items and say Generate Content. And then it'll take its time here to review everything and start generating. All right. And so as you can see too, along with the summary and similar to what we had with our quiz questions, you do get a chance to review what Lumi has produced. So you do have to actually review everything and approve it before it's just placed into your course. So I'll go ahead and say, just proceed to content. And there's the piece that it generated. So it created a whole new module for me with individual submodules. And then each one of these, as you see, they're all turned off by default, so they're all hidden. So you do have to review it first, and then you can unhide each one. But it did a pretty good job pulling in text, pulling in images, and it comes through in a nice format as well. So it kind of keeps the same format that you uploaded.
Can I just interject for 1 second here? There are more content types coming down soon, becoming available other than Word documents for this. And one thing I just want to want everybody to be aware of is that with the new accessibility regulations that we're going to have to be meeting in the next year or so, this will be an easy way to take an old PDF or PowerPoint slides or whatever that you might have that's not accessible, and have Lumi just rebuild it in this format, which will meet accessibility standards.
The next piece of Lumi is going to be the generate questions. This is something we've covered before, but for those of you that don't know just yet, if you go into the quizzes tool and you go to your question library, you'll get this option to generate questions. And then from here, you can select directly from your course content, or you can choose custom text. And then you can build out questions based on whatever prompt that you put in here. You can also choose the type of question. You can choose the number of questions that are generated, and you can even add a taxonomy level if you wanted to. So again, with these ones, it'll generate, then you have to approve what you want to use. And then from there, you can add it to your question library to then add to any quiz that you want in your course. And the next piece is actually very exciting. So this is also part of the quiz tool, and it's called Study Support. So this piece is going to be very interesting because it does require a few extra steps, but basically what it does is it kind of gives your students the value of remediation. So when you turn this on, what it'll do is it'll scan your quiz, it'll scan your activities in your course, and then when a student actually goes through the quiz, if they get questions wrong, Lumi will look at that question, look at the reference to it, and then it'll suggest to the student in the student's feedback on their attempt what they should go back and review. And so this is actually a really nice piece, but there are the 1 or 2 caveats that are with it where you do need to have a certain amount of questions. You have to have a certain amount of text questions that are in there so it can go through. And some stuff needs to reference back to content materials. So as long as it knows where to put those pieces together, then it can make those references for students. And this is all just done on that student end. So one thing that we also want to kind of point out with this is that if you would like a student to get their feedback a lot easier, is if you leave general feedback on their overall attempt, especially if they have multiple attempts on a quiz. And then that way they can just go to the grades tool, they can go to their overall attempts, and then they can actually click on each individual attempt that study support's enabled in, and they can review that remediation information to like look at whatever materials that they need to do before they try to take another attempt. All right.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question, Caleb? Does that mean that if an instructor were to leave a feedback on a specific attempt, does that impact the ability of this tool to work?
It does not. So
Okay.
they can still leave feedback on like a specific attempt if you want to. But the main thing is that if you leave feedback on the overall, that shows up in the grade book. But if you leave specific attempt feedback, they have to go to the quizzes tool and then to
Right.
their attempts in order to see that feedback. So
Right.
it's just better practice if it can be in an easier place for them to navigate to.
Totally agree.
And then you can also select your course activities too that things are actually related to. So that's also one piece that I forgot to mention earlier. But if you do want to do that there, you just select each module, and then you select the content within each module, click apply, and then it'll use those as reference. So then you can activate the study support. Now, along with that, there are a few other things that Lumi will continue to get better on. As Shannon mentioned, they're going to expand the types of files that you can upload. They're also looking at the types of activities that it will create for you, such as like you can go into assignments and it'll generate that description field that actually generates what exactly the instructions are for completing that assignment, and a few other things to help you out with building your courses. So looking forward to some of those things coming on the roadmap. And then the last piece I'll go over is going to be using H5P's new Smart Import feature. So for those of you that don't know just yet, to get to H5P, we actually have it integrated into our Brightspace instance. So all you have to do is go into your course, into the module of your choice, click on existing activities, and then select H5P. And that'll open up this window for you. Now, for some of you, there may be times where some activities may need to have a larger window, and you could just click and drag down here to expand that window size, and then that way you can kind of get a little bit more to view. And so with our new integration with H5P, based on our Creator Plus account, they have this new feature at the top here called Smart Import. And so with Smart Import, you can click on that, and it'll actually give you an overview of what exactly it can do. But basically, it uses AI to scan a file, to scan information, and to scan like links out to websites, just various things that you can give it. And it will generate an activity with different types of interactions for your students to complete. So I know there are situations where you may have a lecture, or you may have study materials from like an open resource where you can actually put it into Smart Import and it can create like study materials, quizzes, just different interactive activities for your students to complete. So as you go through all this information here, you'll just click continue. And then you'll get this screen here where you'll see you will have all of your different imports that have been available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new import. And then I'm going to choose a video link and I'll paste that in. And then if you want, you can also add some descriptive text that you want to add here to like say what type of content you're looking for out of here. You can just kind of ask the AI to look for specific things. I'm going to leave it blank and just click submit. And then right now, as you can see, it's loading and it'll take a little while depending on how long the video is or how much content's being generated. And one of the nice things about this is that it does a lot of it for you. So no more manually going through and having to create each activity piece. You can actually just let it do it for you, and then you can edit later to remove pieces that you don't need anymore. So now you can see it's completed there, so you can review the text. And then you can see some stuff isn't perfect. It called D2L Lumi, so we're going to go ahead and change that. And then I'll go ahead and click continue, and then it'll continue to analyze. I believe you can choose from a variety of activities that you can kind of have available to you. So I know there's been some interactive books that have been generated, and then interactive videos, stuff like that.
Good replacement for those Panopto quizzes if you were someone who used those previously.
Yeah, there's a standalone video on this tool that you can watch on YouTube, and we go over some of the settings and things like that that you might want to change in that one as well.
Yep. And then as you can see here, now we can select the content type that we want. So I'm just going to see right here, it shows interactive books already checked. I'm actually going to just choose interactive video over the book. And then I'll generate the content. And then, yeah, when that's done, you can actually just embed it directly into your course. You can add it to an existing grade item, or you can create your new one. And you can have a fully integrative, interactive piece just directly built for you using content of your choice.
And one that connects directly to your gradebook in Brightspace.
This is definitely one of my favorite updates of the summer. I've been using it a ton. I love it.
The last thing we're going to talk about is what do you do with this onslaught of information? Caleb, we have a channel in Zoom. He shares with many of us daily updates that are more of like a waterfall of AI-related updates. How do we manage it all? What we've done is Shannon had a good spark from the AI Alliance, and we've developed a module. We're calling it Generative AI, and we can put it directly into your course. And it looks like this. And it includes just a number of resources we think will be useful for faculty sort of wanting to talk about AI with learners and provide some pretty generic resources within their own course, but a starting place for those types of conversations. And so we're actually going to put this in something called a digit, where it'll be very easy for a member of the Department of Instructional Innovation and Design to drop this right into your course. So what is in this module and what's available to learners? The first link is actually a link out to our quality course design site, where Shannon and I continue to build out different guides and information for faculty. So the first link is faculty specific. It takes you out to a page where we're going to keep you up to date with what's going on with AI. That's that first link. The second link, you'll actually see it as a link in our learning object repository. So it's a live link that we can update and keep up to date, and that's the Artificial Intelligence Student Guide. And so this is where we broach the topic and we begin the conversation with students about Gemini and NotebookLM, direct them to read their syllabi carefully, put the onus on them in terms of responsibility, and just start the conversation about artificial intelligence tools with students. What's typically ethical, what's typically unethical regarding the use of these tools, and just hitting them with those lessons that we all need to continue to teach them with, which is responsible use of the tools. The next link within the module links out to a little prompting guide where we try to take some questions a student might put into an artificial intelligence tool and try to apply different lessons about how to improve those prompts. So we're focused on specificity, clarity, context, giving the AI a role, which can be very helpful to the learning process, just improving prompts over time. We have an original, revised, and improved prompt. And conversation and writing are part of the thinking process. And students can use these AI tools as a part of their academic process when permitted by their instructor. The last HTML page we're going to include in here as a lore link is about acknowledging AI use. Like the other pages, this will be a dynamic page we continue to update, and we'll add language as we get it from organizations like MLA and APA regarding what references and citation need to look like officially. Lastly here, last couple of links, we link out to the academic integrity policy at NICC, which we updated with faculty through the deans about a year ago. There's some really strong language in here. If you're not familiar with the policy, it's here for you too. Give it a good look. We have tools at the college to ward off misuse of artificial intelligence tools, including an incident of concern report. And lastly, the last couple of links here, I'll show you again what the module looks like. We're linking out to Gemini and NotebookLM, the two tools we started with. We're providing direct links because students are using the tools. We want them to use our instance of the tools where their information will not be shared or used to train data on for compliant. So link out to Gemini and then a link out to NotebookLM.
One thing I wanted to mention about the module is that if you choose to put it in your course, while you can't edit the individual pages, you can delete the ones or hide the ones you maybe don't want to use.
Absolutely.
So for now, send us an email and we will happily put this module in your course for you. And then going forward, you'll at some point you'll see something on your course homepage that will allow you to do it yourself.
Neat. We're ready for the fall.
We covered a lot today, but
Yeah, we
it's all
did.
good stuff.
All right, thanks everyone.
Game over.